any disruption that comes in, there's some, concern or pessimism or disbelief that that's really going to work, right? And that's clearly what it was for Topgolf at the beginning. But these days, we're a lot closer and aligned with the overall sport of golf.
You're listening to Sports Tech Feed, the global sports technology podcast.
Hello and welcome to Sports Tech Feed. I'm your host, Thomas Alomes. Great to have you join us again this week. On today's show, we have Andrew Macaulay, the Chief Technology Officer of Topgolf Entertainment Group. Andrew leads the development of innovative ways to experience and grow the game of golf, in person, virtually and digitally. As a self-proclaimed golf lover, Andrew works to introduce new audiences to the game through technology. Prior to Topgolf, Andrew served as CIO of WesTower Communications, a leader in the cell tower construction and maintenance business. He's also the former CIO at Clearwire Communications, the company that built the first ever 4G wireless network in the US. Now, for any golf fans out there, it's a massive month with the Masters happening over in Augusta. So there can't really be a better time to talk about the future of golf, where that sport's going, kind of where it's come from as well in terms of being a fairly traditional sport, but also embracing technology really head on. And I mean, Topgolf, it goes without saying, is just a fantastic example of how technology can be applied to that sport to help grow it. If you don't know much about Topgolf, or your only experience is really just kind of maybe hitting a few balls in the driving range version of that, this is really valuable because Andrew kind of outlines, well, it's so much more than that as a business, and then also where's it going. So great to have Andrew on the show, and over to him. Andrew Macaulay, CTO of Topgolf. Great to have you join us on Sports Tech Feed.
Thanks, Thomas. It's wonderful to be here.
So, I mean, starting off, many people are familiar with Topgolf venues. So actually going to the driving range, to the bays, hitting a few balls, having some drinks, kind of enjoying some time there. But something that I find really interesting is that the business of Topgolf as Topgolf Group is much broader. So can you outline a little bit about what the different areas of the actual business are?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. We started with the core driving range sort of venue business that everyone knows. But I'd say over the last 6 years or so, that's broadened in a number of different ways. Perhaps the most obvious was an international sort of global expansion of that same concept, leveraging key partners around the world. But maybe different than that, right? We now have a media business. We did a couple of strategic acquisitions about five or so years ago. World Golf Tour, WGT, being one of those. And as you probably know, or your audience knows, that's it's the number one realistic golf game that's played out there in the mobile and desktop gaming world. And along with that, getting into that space, that also gave us a fantastic media team that was really helped build the brand of Topgolf as a sports and entertainment community versus a driving range owner operator, which is not what we ever were, but it helps the brand out that dramatically. And then we did another strategic acquisition of ProTrace in 2016, and that was the basis and the foundation for what we now have as TopTracer. Invested dramatically in that business, orders of magnitude increase in every metric in terms of engineering staff and products and everything. And we took that sort of foundation of the broadcast experience, right? The golf broadcast experience that really brought, first and 10-yard line kind of innovation into golf. And then TopTracer range has grown out of that too. So now not only do we operate our own, not only do you see our technology on TV, but you can have it in your local, private or public driving range and have this fantastic technology that enhances the experience. But wait, there's more, right? We also got into the indoor simulator business. And so another hypothesis all about the same time, 5 or 6 years ago, was that we could do to the simulator business what we did to the driving range business, right? If you play golf on a simulator, you've got to be a pretty good golfer to have an enjoyable experience. Otherwise, you're Otherwise, you're hitting it from the virtual bush to the virtual tree and you give up, right? But with a Topgolf game inside of a simulator, which is the Topgolf Swing Suite, and then lots of other non-golf games, it turns it into this entertainment hub that anybody can play in. And so we're doing all of these things all over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, personal experience watching golf with my grandparents when I was younger, and having them hit it, and say in Australia it's an overcast day in Melbourne, watching it at the Royal Melbourne or something like that, and the ball just disappears into the sky, and I'm watching this camera angle, and then and then they had to find the ball, and it wasn't a great experience for my grandparents. It was kind of, they loved it, and it was just on TV all the time, but especially something around the sport of golf attracting younger generations, which is something we'll talk about a bit later. But those innovations to enhance the experience, whether you're playing it, whether you're watching it, or whether you're kind of learning from it, as distinct from just playing for leisure, are obviously all really important. So how do you get those tech innovations to flow across all those different parts of the business, from kind of the classic range business to those broadcast innovations?
Yeah, I mean, it starts, if you hit on the head, right? We've digitized the game of golf in all aspects, is sort of the summary, right? So if you look at watching, playing, how do we do that? And it's this interesting mix of sort of innovations in the DNA. You've got to have that. Any innovative company will tell you that, right? There's something in the water, right? that we inspire people across all areas of the business to innovate. It's not me. It's not some central brain that does all the innovating and everyone just executes. It's got to be infused across the entire organization. And thanks to our leadership, past and present, that's what we have at the company. And so practically what that means is we have engineering teams in each area. And as we come up with new ideas over the previous years, we put our money where our mouth is and we invest in them, and we hire technology of all the right disciplines that you need to create a technology. And then we have sort of technology architectural, what's the right word? I would say groups, I suppose, virtual groups that make sure we work together. And so we're still sharing best practices across, but we're not restricted from a priority standpoint. Like if it's a single person, do I work on this? Do I work on that business? No, we have individual people who are dedicated to those different areas, but then they collaborate really nicely.
Yeah, so I guess it's siloed in the sense of they're working on their own priorities, but then it's integrated in the sense that, if there's an advancement here, it can be applied to another team. And if those engineering teams are working across similar areas, you can kind of combine them together. So rather than say an innovation hub or an innovation center where all the new products are coming out of there, it's in each business unit that they have their own teams and their own way to work together.
Yeah, that's right. And we call, for me, words matter. So we call our technology team across all those groups the TI team, or the technology innovation team. The word IT has been used globally for many years now to represent technologists, and I just don't think that's what any of us do in any profession these days, any industry these days, but especially not here, because we want innovation to be front and center. So that's what we call ourselves, and that's what we expect of us. And that way, innovation can just come up from anywhere, whether it's whether it's a support technician in the field working directly with a range owner, or at a venue with our staff. It's amazing what the people out there using the product come up with. And I think some companies are sort of, don't hear or don't see those things, and we do. Yeah.
It's great to hear. It's rather than kind of should be seen and not heard in terms of technology professionals. It's actually kind of, they have some incredible ideas and feedback, and especially, like you said, the ones that are working at the coalface, working with range owners, working with customers in at the driving range bays and all that kind of stuff. So I also just want to say I really love that quote around digitizing the sport of golf, and that is something that we'll talk about in a minute. But as with anything that's innovative, disruptive, there's always critics. and Topgolf is no exception, especially in a kind of traditionally conservative sport of golf. We were chatting off air. I liken it to the sport of cricket. It's been around for a long time. It has its rules. It's very particular about those rules, and part of its tradition and I guess conservative in the sense of the rules have been like that, and the way it works is a success. That's allowed it to last as long as it has and grow as it has. But there's a lot of support from the golf establishment, and I'm going to say a quote here from Chip Brewer, who's a Callaway CEO, and after the merger last year, described Topgolf as the best thing that happened to golf since Tiger Wood, and the biggest source of growth for our industry. So, what makes Topgolf that impactful to the sport?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. In any disruption that comes in, there's some concern or pessimism or disbelief that that's really going to work, right? And that's clearly what it was for Topgolf at the beginning. But these days we're a lot closer and aligned with the overall sport of golf. And I think as to what makes it impactful, and I'll just say there's no doubt that we are a gateway to people playing and picking up full golf course green grass golf, right? So why, right? Well, golf is hard. It has the traditions. It's a difficult game to pick up. I think very few people just sort of naturally know how to do it. You've got to have a lot of lessons. You got to go out there. You've got that aura about. I'm a lifelong golfer. I love playing golf, but you've got that aura, and if you're brand new, it's intimidating. Even to step out on the driving range somewhere, right? You get all these people, and they're serious, and they're hitting golf shots, and you're worried about hitting the person next to you when if you're a beginner, right? So it's stressful to get into the game of golf. Become a Topgolf, all those barriers just melt away, right? Yeah. Because it's a fun environment. You've got some drinks flowing. You got all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds all together. You feel comfortable. You can wear flip-flops. You can wear whatever you want. There's very little etiquette to learn, which you need to learn to play green grass golf, properly. Your clubs are provided. You don't have to go out and spend money on clubs, and which clubs do I get as a beginner? And the scoring is friendly, right? So with green grass golf, you've got to put 3, 4, 5 shots together on the one after the other to make a good score on a hole. Topgolf, one shot, didn't score, no problem. Try the next one, right? And so you're still hitting a real golf ball with a real golf club, right? And so you get it, right? You get that bug that we all get when suddenly you hit a good one, right? Oh, I want to do that again, and I want to do that again, right? And it's not just us saying this. National Golf Foundation, there's some surveys out there the last few years that show a significant number of golfers who picked up green grass golf in the last few years say that their introduction to golf came at Topgolf. And if I can, I'll give you a teaser, which is that this year I expect we'll see the first golfer turn professional who started golf at a Topgolf as their introduction to the sport, right? So it's coming, and so you can see that what we've built over the last few years and making this sort of digital experience and entertaining experience inviting just brings those barriers down, and a good number of people then want to move on and actually play on a course.
And is that how you see it? That it's a bridge between the physical and digital? We had Jean-Baptiste Alliot from the UEFA Innovation Hub, and he uses the term phygital, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan on, but I mean, I'm still trying to come up with a better word where you mash those two words together. But that seems to be a big trend within the industry, and especially after COVID, is how do you bridge the physical digital divide? And that is when you're dealing with demographics that are digital natives and coming to that first, they feel a more real experience in terms of a sporting experience, maybe Fortnite, a video game, maybe something like that. And then to the physical side, that kind of bridge, is that how you see it as Topgolf integrating the two?
Absolutely, right. Technology is unbiased, but technology is at the heart of everything we do. It's just not the only thing we do that makes Topgolf special. There's so many great things with that environment, but that mix, the mix of the two together, is critical because I think it's loneliness is on the rise in the world. And anything we can do it's part of our mission, right, to connect people in meaningful ways. If we can bring people together in a physical environment, but it's got that digital part to it, that is the bridge to what they do in other forms of socialization, entertainment, then we're helping people dramatically connect. I'll just add that, in another avenue that we've got now into virtual reality, with our partner GolfScope. So if you're an Oculus brand of VR headset, you can play Topgolf virtually in a virtual world. But the cool thing there is you don't have to be by yourself. You can also play it with like up to 7 friends or something like that, right? So we're still trying to bring the social aspect, even in 100% digital experience like VR.
Yeah, and I mean that's it. At the end of the day, you're still hitting a ball, or you're still that swing motion, and that's something that noticing going with my kids to Topgolf, playing say the Angry Birds game, something like that. That's something they find fun, engaging. In 10 years, I don't think they're going to be as excited about Angry Birds, but they might be excited about green grass golf. They might say, well, as you said, I want more of the challenge. I want to push my skills. I want to develop. But yeah, it's really the gateway into that side. And is that something that you see? Do you see other challenges coming into the space in terms of Topgolf? To my mind, is the best in the business, obviously, in everything that you do. Do you think it's going to be one of those things that, say, in an analogy with Uber, the way they disrupted the taxi industry, is it one of those things that there's going to be Topgolf 2.0, people are going to copy you, or is it more around, well, how can we partner?
So all of the above, I suppose, right? We created an industry. There are certainly competing products out there, somewhat in their infancy, but that's where everybody starts, right? So, but I think what we've shown even in the last 5 or 6 years is that when I said innovation can come from anywhere, I actually meant that even beyond Topgolf. So from my strategy, as you can see, we've done a couple of really key acquisitions that brought key technology and, more importantly, people with the right skill set that work for those companies to us. And so I can totally see that being part of the future. There's no, it has to be invented here mentality for us. We invent a lot of stuff here, but it's all and when we find a partner that comes up with an even better idea than we ever thought of, and we can merge it together, we'll totally do that too.
And where do you draw inspiration from? As you said, innovation can come from anywhere. Do you, outside of, say, the sport of golf and Topgolf, things that it's grown internally, where do you look for ideas, trends in the industry, trying to see what happens next? Is it other sports, or is it other kind of entities, gaming, whatever else?
Yeah, all of the above. So we've got people who are deep into the gaming industry with their experience. Our WGT and media team are full of ex-EA Sports, Disney professionals. We do a lot of, I have a bit of chaos theory in me, right? Which is to walk around not exactly knowing what you're looking for and bumping into things. And so we do a lot of that. Coming to your conference last year before, I guess it was year before. I try to forget 2020. Year before,
it doesn't count.
And meeting people in other sports, whether it's basketball, tech, or other, it's just like it's inspiring. I have no problem in seeing a great idea in a completely different area, whether that's a sport or an industry, and then shamelessly adapting it for us to use the same thing. Right? That's how it works.
Yeah, and definitely how it drives it all forwards. And it's one of those things that talking to a lot of people in the industry, they look at Topgolf. I wouldn't say enviously because it's more aspirationally, I guess. He's like going, well, look what they've done. As you said, it created an entire category. It's innovating within the sport of golf, but creating a new category that then cyclically has supported the sport to begin with. So, I mean, on the horizon, you mentioned some of the stuff, the virtual reality. Is there other things that are coming down the pipeline that either you're working on or would like to see come to fruition?
Yes, I'll talk more about what's just out versus the more distant future that we probably keep to ourselves. For
Give us all your
reasons.
Come on,
yeah.
Come on, Andrew. What's the plan? Yeah.
But I'll say, but I actually, as a final point for that last question, I was thinking the cool part about being where we are now as Topgolf is that people come to us. I get a lot of cold call emails every single day or ways of contact with people. So that's the other huge benefit for us. So, but as far as, what we're doing now, you mentioned Angry Birds. I was so excited about that. We're on our third generation of gaming platform at Topgolf venues, of which about 50% of the current venues, slightly more than 50% of the current venues have that upgrade. Because we've been around 20 years, right?
Jump in there because some people might not have played it. Basically, you're playing in the Topgolf bay, you hit the ball out, and as you would launch the ball on the Angry Bird games, on the screen in your bay, it's like you're playing with the golf ball. So you see that it tumbles down and all that kind of stuff, and you get points and things like that. So it's very similar to the iPhone game or the kind of mobile game, but you're actually hitting it and you see it on the screen. Just for anyone who hasn't done it, but I'd recommend them get along because it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games. Thank you for the explanation. It's exactly like the Angry Birds game that you play on your phone, of which billions of people have done. And instead of using your finger on the screen to pull the bird back and then decide what angle you're going to shoot it at to try and knock the structure down and get rid of the pigs. Your golf ball trajectory and speed replaces that, right? So you're hitting again real golf shot, but then we translate that as the input into the Angry Birds game. This is why we went to this third generation. We've got top tracer tracking coupled with our traditional RFID chips and golf balls method of tracking a golf ball, and so they now work together really beautifully. So that we now know. The problem I had with RFID, right, was that you knew where the ball was, when it's on the mat when you hit it, and then you wait to see if it shows up in a target. If it shows up in a target, okay, then I know this is your ball and you score this many points, right? But I didn't know what was happening in between those 2 points. By adding top tracer tracking to this, I now have the XYZ coordinates of the golf ball for its entire trajectory. In between the starting point and the end point. And, I think 48% of balls that get hit at Topgolf miss a target, right? So I didn't know what happened to those. And now I know what happened to those because we're tracking it. And then that unlocked this rich, imaginative 3D world games like Angry Birds or Jewel Jam, which is like Candy Crush on your phone that you can play. And this is just the beginning, right? So as far as the future goes, you can imagine more and more innovative games now that are you're still hitting, again, real golf ball, real golf club, real golf shot, but it's being transformed into a different entertaining experience than just trying to get it close to the flag.
Yeah. It's I don't know if ironic's the right word, but the gamification of a game. It's the gamification of the sport, or probably more accurately, gamification of the skill. Because what you're doing is you're practicing the skill, and then the sport of golf on the grass and stuff. You bring in shot selection, you bring in reading the green, you bring in all that kind of stuff. But for people that want to level up and continue into that, they can learn it once they've got the basic skill. And to your point at the beginning. Golf is very intimidating because things like dress codes, like you got to think about a dress code
before you've even hit a ball. And the hardest thing to do is actually hit the ball. So,
That's right.
it's fantastic to see that kind of graduate through.
I love your level up analogy, actually, right? Because think about it in terms of leveling up at Topgolf and getting better, right? And then you advance to the next level, which is going to a green grass course for the first time. And then there's levels within that, right? So it's gamification of a game. But if you step back far enough, it's just one big continuum, one game. Mm-hmm. And we're providing a fantastic, entertaining experience, of which some people never go beyond that and they just stay in that world. But a good subset continue on into the sport of golf as it's been traditionally known.
Yeah, and as they also, as you said, things like the Top Tracer, which can be installed at existing facilities. So it's also, if they go there, that's another bridge between the Topgolf experience and then the green grass traditional golf, 18 holes, what have you. So that's really interesting stuff. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew. I just wanted to finish up with our final question, which is, what is your favorite sporting moment of all time?
Oh, wow. I think, that's a tough one. So I guess from a personal standpoint, I'll just go with personal experience versus some fantastic event that I maybe watched on TV, right? But I've been to 3 Ryder Cups.
Yep.
Nothing compares to that environment. I'm from England originally. Father lives in Spain, so we went to Valderrama in '99, I think was the year, and it was American domination had been going on for a long time up to that point, and we were on the 18th green as Seve and Montgomery were coming off to big cheers, and I think I get goosebumps now just thinking about it, right? So from a personal experience on the sporting front, I'd pull that one out.
Yeah, fantastic. And have you been to the Masters before? Have you made it to Augusta? Just thinking of what's coming up.
I've been lucky enough to go twice, and probably get to go a few more times here. Masters is unbelievable. I mean, everyone talks about it, and if you haven't been, you need to find a way to go one of these days, because it really is something special.
Yeah, thank you once again for your time, Andrew. Really appreciate it. We'll put some links, try and find some Ryder Cup footage from that, see if we can put it in the show notes so people can experience that, and we'll keep an eye out at Augusta.
Fantastic, Thomas. Thanks so much. Great time.
There you have it. That was Andrew Macaulay, CTO at Topgolf. As I said, incredible technologist that's kind of really doing some innovative, cutting-edge stuff in the industry. We'll be interested to see how Topgolf grows into the future, and kind of keeping a finger on the pulse on everything they're doing in the space. And yeah, seeing if some other sports can kind of learn from that really it's innovation and I guess pushing the envelope isn't something to be scared of, but it can actually grow your user base, and really it's a spectrum across that. So thanks again to Andrew for being on the show. I'm your host, Thomas Loams. Thanks again for joining us on Sports Tech Feed, and looking forward to seeing you next time.